Driving the Benz, is that okay? Let me tell you, I like you a lot, babe.
What is going on, guys? My name is Kenji and welcome back to my channel. Hopefully it's not the first time that you're watching one of my videos, but in case it is, I'm a third year medical student studying King's College London. And in this video, I'm going to be answering all the questions that you guys asked me over on my Instagram. I just hit 10,000 subscribers, which is like absolutely amazing, and it blows my mind that 10,000 of you guys have decided to sit down and watch me speak to you. Like, it's crazy. And I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who has taken the time to watch my videos, subscribe, like, and comment. YouTube has honestly like changed my life. I'm so glad that I started it in first year when I did. Having like the ability to meet all of you guys in person and, you know, take pictures with you whenever I see you, or, you know, receive messages over my Instagram or emails it's been amazing. And I want to say, like, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much to all of you guys who have stuck by me and have supported me over the last, you know, sort of few years of being in medical school. And hopefully you guys will continue to be with me and support me all the way to the end of my journey in medical school, and also like from there on being a doctor when I graduate. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate you so much. So I received so many questions from you guys over my Instagram, and I'm just gonna make it like a long video. Like 10,000 subscribers is a huge milestone, so I actually want to sit down and take the time to answer these questions openly and honestly to all of you guys. I kind of split up the questions in three groups. The first is like medicine and studying. The next category is like my personal life and about me. And then lastly, we'll go on to talk about and answer all the questions to do with motivation. So we'll start with medicine and studying. The first question I have is, what are my plans after university? So after university, I'm going to be working as a doctor, as a foundation year doctor for 2 years. So I'll do my FY1, my FY2 as a junior doctor, and then after that, I'll be moving on to specialty training. Right now, I'm hoping to do my 2 years foundation in London. I'm really trying my best to make my application as strong as possible so that I can stay in London for my years as a junior doctor. And then after that, when I start to specialise, right now I'm thinking about GP. Probably like 50% GP, and then probably like 50% some sort of like medical speciality. There is a question later on about what specialties I want to apply for, so I'll leave that question for later on. That's the first question so far. And I also should mention that I want to do 2 years as a junior doctor, and then also take an FY3, which is basically a gap year for medicine. I want to finish on medical school, do 2 years of medicine, work in hospitals, and then take a gap year and do something completely different. I love being a doctor, I love like medicine in general, but I think it'd be really good to just take like a year out of medicine and maybe travel the world, do a lot more traveling, work on like some voluntary work in Africa, maybe also do some like global health plans, make some more YouTube videos, just something different for medical school before I actually take life a lot more serious and choose my specialty training. So that's what I want to do. The next question is, how do you balance research and studying as a medic? Doing research and doing like medicine as well is quite challenging in terms of your time. It does take a lot of time. What it really goes down to is the ability to manage your time effectively. I think time management is probably the most important thing in medical school, and especially like if you want to do research on the side, time management is key. So I actually made a full video on how I manage my time, so go check that out, and hopefully that will answer some of your questions as to how you can manage your time more effectively. The next question is, what do you enjoy most about studying medicine, and what do you dislike the most? So I think what I enjoy so much about medical school is the patient contact. Being able to like talk to patients on a daily basis and learn so much from them is absolutely amazing. Like, what other career would you ever speak to an alcoholic, a drug addict, someone who just tried committing suicide this morning, someone who, I don't know, there's just so many different personalities in medicine, and there's no other career where you'll ever meet such a broad range of personalities and people going through different stuff in their life. And being someone who can like help them and can be there to support them and talk to them is absolutely amazing. And there's no other career where you'll ever have that privilege. So that's probably the best thing about medicine. The worst thing about medicine, I'd say, is probably the hours in the library. Like, when it comes to exam periods, as you may have seen in my study with me video, I had to sit down in a library for, I don't know, 8 to 10 hours a day for a whole entire month to revise for my final exam. So I'd say, yeah, like no one enjoys sitting in a library revising, and if you do enjoy sitting in a library revising, you're a weird man, like you're a proper weirdo. No, I'm only joking. I do enjoy it to some extent, but it does get quite challenging sometimes. And yeah, I don't think anyone really enjoys like sacrificing so much time to sit in a library. But if you do, it's cool, like no judgment at all. I just personally don't enjoy that part of medicine. So that's my answer. Next question is, how do you take notes? I think I made a full video on how I take notes, so go over and check that out. But I basically use my tablet. I have a Samsung tablet, and I use an app called Squid, which allows me to like write down all my notes, and that's what I use to make my notes after the lecture. During the lecture, I use Microsoft OneNote to write down all of my notes during the lecture alongside the lecture slides. So that's what I use. Next question is, what has been the highlights and lowest points of med school so far? So definitely the highlight so far was, I think, just starting medical school. The first like 2 to 3 weeks of medical school were the funnest like ever. You know, like when you finally get into medical school and you're so like gassed and you're so hyped to finally be in there. I had the best time like meeting new friends, finally starting medical school and like starting a training. We had like freshers week as well, and we just like meeting all of my friends in medical school was just so, it's like the thrill you get of finally making it and finally being there was amazing, and it's like a feeling that you can't really describe. The lowest point of med school so far was probably during my first year. I'd say probably like halfway through my first year, I went through a few things like in my personal life that were a bit challenging. So for me, med school isn't too challenging. I think what's so challenging about med school is that it puts a lot of pressure on everything outside of your life. So if you do have like some sort of thing you're going through in your social life or your just your personal life, it puts a lot of pressure onto that, and dealing with those things as well as still turning off your lectures and your hospital placements, that can be quite hard sometimes. So that's probably the lowest point so far in med school. Next question is, what model or apps do you use for taking notes? So as I mentioned, I use Squid on my Samsung tablet to take notes, written notes, and also Microsoft OneNote to take notes in my lectures, and also just to take notes like in general. I use something called Evernote, and that's where I keep all of my like kind of side notes or like my to-do list and stuff like that. The next question is, how can you make sure you get 3 A's at A level? If I go back in time and give myself some advice, it would definitely be, first of all, to make sure you understand the content. So there's no point memorizing everything if you don't understand it. And I think the mistake that I made is that I spent so much time memorizing. So like if you asked me to recite autobiology, I could literally recite the whole entire textbook to you, but I didn't really understand what I was learning. And that's really, really key. If you can understand what you're learning, it makes it so much easier to memorize it. The next thing I'd say is to make sure that you're working every single day. So I would kind of wait until the last like 2 months before exams just to like properly start working. What I would say is to make sure like after you finish your class, go home and spend time, you know, writing up the notes on that class that you had. So make sure you're working every single day and don't fall behind. Like keep up to date with your notes, keep up to date with your classes. And lastly, make sure you apply active recall. So I used to just like make notes and then come back and highlight the notes, and that really is quite a poor way of understanding and learning things. Make sure you actually sit down and test yourself. So use flashcards or use Anki or Quizlet to test yourself on the knowledge that you have to make sure that you actually do know what you've learned. So that would be my advice for A levels. All right, so I got asked this question 5 times. So what speciality preference do you want to do in the future based on your current rotation or your best rotation? So my favorite rotation so far in medicine has been either obs and gynae, or probably vascular, like cardiovascular, and also GP. Like I quite enjoy GP as well. So right now in terms of like specialties, as I mentioned, I'm thinking like probably 50% GP, probably like 25% obs and gynae, and maybe like another 25% another type of medical specialty like cardiovascular or something like that. The reason why I enjoyed obs and gynae so much was because I got to deliver 2 babies. One baby was via C-section and one was via like a normal vaginal birth. I have a video like describing my whole day of delivering babies, so go check that out. That was like hands down one of the best things I've ever done in my entire life, and I enjoyed that so much. Why I'm thinking about GP is because I feel like if I go down, I may be wrong by saying this, but I feel like if I go down specialty training, let's say like core surgical training or core medical training, I feel like if you go down that route, you'll just be a doctor, and it'll be very hard to do the other things that you want to do in your life. The reason why I say that is because if you go into specialty training, you're contracted for 60, 70 hours a week, and those are the hours you just have to do. Like, you know, those hours you just have to, you know, essentially commit to. Whereas if you go down the route of a GP, once you qualify as GP, you basically work for yourself, and you can choose to do 2 days of work in a GP, maybe 1 day teaching, 1 day research, 1 day, I don't know, doing something you love. Being a GP means you have a lot of time to be like an entrepreneur or you can actually specialize as a GP. Some GPs like have a specialist interest in dermatology or surgery, so you can be a GP and still do surgery and still do other different things. And the reason why I also want to do GP is because, yeah, as I said, you work for yourself, so you can essentially choose your hours you work. You can work as a locum, you can work as like a paid, like normal salary GP where you can choose how many days a week you work, or you can be a partner, so you can actually like own your own GP, which is what I'm sort of thinking about going into. And all of that means that I will be able to have a lot more free time to do what I want to do outside of medicine. You know, I think one of the most important things for me that is becoming more and more important in my life is just being there for my kids in the future. I don't have kids right now, but one day I will have kids and I will want to have kids, and being able to be someone who can pick them up from school, go to all of their assemblies and like parent-teacher conferences will be quite important to me, and it's something that I want to have in my future essentially. I went to like a GP conference 2 weeks ago, and I met this GP who said something really interesting. She said that she's married to an anaesthetist in the hospital, so he's a specialist in anesthetics. And she said being married to him is kind of like being a single mum, because he leaves home at 7 a.m, comes back at 9 p.m, and he's never there for the important events, you know, for their kids. And that's not really something I want in my life. And as I said, I may be wrong about this. I'm not a specialty trainee. I'm not a GP, but this is kind of what I've gathered from being in medicine so far. So that's kind of what I think so far. What was your hardest year so far at King's? My hardest year so far at King's probably was first year. The reason why is because there's just so much content. Like first and second year medicine, before you start like your clinical years, it's quite time consuming. Like I think I had like over 250 lectures in first year, 250 lectures in second year. And why it was particularly hard for me was because in first year I was working full time in the lab doing research. So I was doing 25 to 30 hours alongside medicine and alongside like, you know, socializing and meeting friends all the time. So although that was a choice that I decided for myself, it was just hard to like manage all of my time. That's probably why I found first year like quite hard. Third year is different. Like third year is very, very chill to me. I don't know why, it's just so weird, but third year, to kind of describe my timetable to you guys right now. So Mondays I'm in hospital, and hospital is quite chilled. Like hospital, you turn up, you shadow a few doctors, you help out here and there, and you get to leave. You can leave whenever you want essentially, but yeah, it's normally like 8 a.m. or 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Last year, at the start of this year, at the start of third year, we had like a project we had to do. We had like a research project to do, and we also had like another module. Both those things now have been completely done, so I essentially have a day off on Tuesday, Wednesday, which is when I decide to make YouTube videos, and that's where I spend my time. Thursday I'm back in hospital, so again it's the same thing in hospital. And then Friday I have mental health, and mental health again is very chilled. I show up at 9 a.m, kind of talk to some patients, do a few skills here and there, and I normally leave around like lunchtime or just after lunch, which means I have a lot more time to do whatever I want. And Saturday, Sunday, I'm chilling. Like Saturday, Sunday, I'm doing whatever I want in my life, seeing my friends, my family, and it won't get hard until closer to our final OSCEs, which are in May. So around start of April, mid-April, things will get a lot more tough because I'll be revising a lot more for my exams. But other than that, like I'm chilling so far. Like 30 is pretty chilled. In fourth and fifth year, pretty much in hospital full time, Monday to Friday in hospital. Very little teaching occurs, so you'll have very few lectures, so you essentially are on placement all the time, which I find quite chill. Like yes, you have a timetable, but you're not like forced to be there, and even though you should be there, if something does come up and you're ill or you need to take some time off, you can. And yeah, kind of going with this, like what I'm saying, in March I have 3 weekends planned. This weekend I'm flying to Norway from Friday to Monday, so I'm literally just going for a weekend to Norway. The weekend after that, I'm going to Dublin for my best friend's birthdays and with my whole group of friends. The last week of March, I'm going to Berlin as well with my friends. So yeah, like it's pretty chill so far. But yeah, first and second year are quite hard. After that, I'm finding it quite bearable. The next question is, when should you start preparing for the UCAT? I prepared for the UCAT 3 weeks before my exam. So I put aside a whole 3 weeks just focused on UCAT practice. So give yourself a good 3 to 4 weeks to prepare for UCAT, and the more time you have, the better. Next question is, do you think that getting into med school the graduate way made you more grateful and humble? Also, do you feel like doing biomed as a graduate has given you an advantage? Okay, yes, 100%, I definitely agree with that. The reason why is because it took me 3 years longer than a lot of people to get into medical school, which means that I had to go through, like I had to be very resilient. You know, I had to sacrifice 3 years of my life. Like I say sacrifice, it wasn't a sacrifice because I still loved my life at the time and I really enjoyed biomed. But I essentially had to go 3 more years of work and stress to finally get into medical school. And when I finally got into medical school, I was a lot more like gassed because it took me a lot longer. I had to sacrifice a lot more to get into medical school than some of my friends who got in the first time. And that's not to say that they didn't put in the hard work, but I had to work really, really hard to get through 3 years of biomed to finally get into medical school. So now that I'm here, I make sure I show up to a lot of things. I make sure I show up to all my placements. I kind of appreciate, I really, really do appreciate what I have now, like finally getting to medical school. So I definitely say it's made me more grateful. Not to say that someone who's 18 isn't just as grateful, but it made me personally more grateful than I would have been if I was 18 in my own life. Also, so the next question was, do you feel like biomed has given you an advantage? And yeah, I definitely think so. I think it gave me an advantage in first and second year. The reason why is because in first and second year, you're doing a lot of biomed. First year was basically a repetition of biomed. Second year was more like, started to be more clinical, but there definitely was a lot of biomed concepts. So first and second year, it definitely gave me an advantage because I had already covered a lot of the content, which meant that I was able to do stuff like research. So as I said, in first year, I was working in a lab full time. That was amazing because I could kind of fly through medicine and, you know, invest my time in a lab. I was also able to start a YouTube channel because I had more time to do stuff like that. And also you kind of have a better understanding in first and second year, and to some extent third year as well, of the human body. You know, obviously you spend 3 years specializing even further into the human body, and to understand how the human body works at a more deep level, at a more cellular level than you are taught at medical school. Having that sort of knowledge definitely helped me in terms of medical school. So it definitely gave me a bit of an advantage. I mean, in your clinical years, it doesn't help you as much because it's definitely a lot more like diagnosis and treatment, which, like, you know, anyone can learn at the age of like 21 compared to like 23, 24. But in the early years of medicine, that's especially when it gave me quite a big advantage, and that's what I'd say. Oh, and it also gave me an advantage in terms of like being able to publish papers. So I published one paper in my first year, like a research paper, and in my second year I published another paper. So because I had the knowledge of biomed and I had the experience of like writing, I had the experience of like, you know, writing essays, writing research papers. I had like a good, strong research background, which meant that I could publish papers. It meant that I could travel to Taiwan for 4 weeks to work in a lab. I was able to you know, apply for scholarships. So it gave me a lot of like give me like a good, strong research background to kind of excel in terms of my extracurriculars outside of medicine. Okay, next question. Is med school easier than A-levels? So this is really subjective. Like, some of my friends have found like medicine way harder. For me personally, I did find A-levels a little bit easier. I think there's more like content in medicine and you need to like invest a lot more time. Like, you need to revise a lot more. But in terms of the actual questions they ask you in the exam, I felt like in A-levels, they try to like trip you up. They'd be like proper snaky, try like trip you up. And but I feel like in medicine, a lot of the questions are, at least in first and second year, are, what does this do? What hormone controls this? The questions they ask you are very like direct, and it's a lot of regurgitation of your knowledge. I think what will be a lot harder is, so third, fourth, and fifth year, like your clinical years, the actual job of being a doctor or being a medical student in the wards is quite hard. Like, diagnosing people is quite hard. Taking history is hard. Treating someone is hard. All of those things, like the job of being a doctor, I think is harder than what is required of you in A-level. And, you know, being a doctor and thinking like a doctor and diagnosing is quite hard. But the actual content of medicine, I think is easy in A-levels. I found A-levels really like confusing, really hard. Whereas medicine is just like, memorize treatments, memorize drugs, memorize the investigations you take. In the written exams, they ask you all like regurgitation questions, at least in my medical school. So I found medicine a bit easier than A-levels. Last question for the category of medicine and studying is, any tips you'd give for doing well in A-levels and balancing a job? Again, I think it's just become a master of mastering your time. Master mastering your time. Oh no, just master your time. Go watch the video of all the tips I gave in terms of time management. But I think you have to be just so disciplined and manage your time as best you can so you can do both jobs really well. But yeah, check out that video and let me know what you think about the tips I have. All right, so the next category is a bit more fun, and it's more like personal questions and like things outside of medicine. So let's get started on that. The first question is, where are you from? So in terms of like where I'm from in England, I'm from Northwest London. In terms of my ethnicity, I'm half Japanese, quarter English, and quarter Kenyan. Yeah, so that's where I'm from. Next question is, how do you get to the terrace from guys? Oof. So I've been getting this question so much because I posted a video over on my Instagram of me being like on top of the medical school on Guy's campus. And basically, the secret is out. I'm gonna give it to you guys. I should probably start by saying, I don't think you're allowed to actually do this. So don't take my advice. I may or may not have actually been there myself. I heard this from a little bird. I didn't find this myself, but okay, so what you need to do is walk into Hodgkin building, take a first left and the first left again, follow the signs to the MMI suites where we had all of our medicine interviews. We get to MMI suites, take a right and follow the stairs all the way up to the top. And then at the top, there'll be a fire exit, open fire exit, and there you go, you're on the top, guys. As I said, I don't recommend you go up there for health and safety reasons. Terms and conditions apply, but yeah, that's how you get to the top. Next question is, are you glad you did biomed before medicine, or would you have chosen differently? I 100% would not turn back time. I had the best 3 years of my life in biomed. I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about like life in general. I met the most amazing people in biomed who are still my best friends to this day. I'm a lot more ready for medicine, like personally, so I would definitely wouldn't change a thing. Next question, do you have any siblings, and if so, what professions are they in? Yeah, so I have two sisters, one older, one younger. My older sister is in like beauty. She's into like nails and like beauty. I think it's called like beautician. I'm not entirely sure what it's called. My young sister is 15 and she's still doing her GCSEs at the moment. Next question is, how tall are you? I am 6 foot in real life, but 6'1" on Tinder. So don't watch my profile. No, I'm only joking. Yeah, I'm 6 foot. And it's really surprising whenever I like meet someone in person, they're always like, oh my God, you're so much taller than I thought you'd be. And I'm like, oh, thanks. Like, I don't know why I come across as short on camera or like on video. Next question is, teach us something cool in Swahili. Hakuna Matata. If you know what Hakuna Matata means, let me know down in the comments below. Next question, what are 3 things that you must do every day? 3 things I must do every day. First is like go gym. I love going to gym and it's a part of my lifestyle, so go to gym. Next thing is play my guitar. Like, I've been trying to play my guitar a lot more recently now. So even if I play my guitar for like 4 or 5 minutes a day, that to me like is good and I love that. And lastly, read. This is all like really boring, but yeah, I love reading and I read at least like half an hour every single day. Next question is, how long was your longest relationship? Ooh, so these questions get a bit more saucy. My longest relationship was about 5 years. 5 years, so from being 16 to just before I turned 22. Next question is, what was your reason for starting YouTube? Oh, so okay, the reason why I started YouTube were a few reasons. The first reason is that, so as you guys know, I got into medical school through quite an atypical way. I did 3 years of biomed first, and then came in through as a graduate. And I thought at the time that was quite an atypical route into medicine, and I wanted to share my story to tell you guys that you don't have to be the smartest person to get to medical school. You don't have to be the most like academic person. All you have to do is work really, really hard. It may take you longer, it may take you 3 years extra in biomed, but what matters the most is that you actually get there in the end. So that was the first reason, is just to tell my story. The second reason is because I wanted to level the playing fields of, you know, medicine in general. As some of you guys might know, I don't come from the most privileged background, so no one in my family went to university, none of my parents are doctors, no one in my family is doctors, both my parents didn't go to university. So for me, getting into med school was really, really hard, and I know there's a lot of people out there who have a similar background to me, and I wanted to basically level the playing fields and make it easier for some of you guys who may not have the same access that some other people do. So that's the second reason. The last reason is that I had a lot of time in first year. Like, as I mentioned before, first year to me, I had quite a bit of time and I wanted to try something new, try something fun, and just help people. So that's why I decided to start a YouTube channel. Next question is, if medicine doesn't exist, what would you love to do as a profession? Oof. So if not medicine, I'd probably want to do something that would still make a difference to the world. So maybe be like a police officer, or maybe go into research. So, you know, become a research scientist and try to find a cure for like cancer. something that's like more like very meaningful, because I feel like medicine is quite, and being a doctor is just generally quite a meaningful job. So it'll be something like that. Next question is, am I Christian? Yeah, as you can probably tell, yeah, I'm Christian. And yeah, I went to a Christian school. I was brought up Christian. My mum's Christian. My dad is like Buddhist and Shintoist. But yeah, I was brought up Christian. Next question is, which books changed your life? Oh, if I was to kind of recommend the best books ever that changed my life, it would definitely be Emotional Intelligence, The 4 Agreements, The 5 Agreements, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Happy, The 4-Hour Work Week, and The Power of Now. Just to kind of mention a few and why I love them was Emotional Intelligence really taught me how to become emotionally intelligent, and that applies to like all aspects of your life. Being emotionally intelligent is probably the most, in my opinion, the most important type of intelligence. Secondly, The 4 Agreements just taught me 4 things. So it's about like coming up with 4 agreements and making 4 agreements to yourself to become to live a more happier life. 4 agreements were: don't take anything personally, always do your best, don't make assumptions, so never ever make assumptions about why someone is doing what they're doing or why someone maybe doesn't like you. And lastly, it was be impeccable with your word. So basically, don't chat shit about people. Be honest and be honest and kind to people. And that's what the 4 agreements taught me. Oh, and also, one of my favorite books of all time is The School of Life. You can actually get The School of Life online. I'll link it below in the description. But it's just basically a book that teaches you all of the important things about life, like relationships, marriage, work, kind of how to control your thoughts. It teaches you loads of things that schools don't necessarily teach you. What schools are amazing at is like teaching you like how to pass your exams, how to do maths and chemistry and science, and all those things are so important. But one thing that school doesn't teach you is how to be emotionally intelligent, how to deal with relationships, how to deal with rejection, how to deal with not getting the job you want in your future. All of the the rest of the really super important things in life that are not taught to you in school. The School of Life taught me, and there's some things in life you don't necessarily have to go through to learn. You can just read a book and it will teach you a lot of things and pass down a lot of knowledge from other people that you don't necessarily have to go through to get. So yeah, those are my favorite books that changed my life. Next question is, do you have a skincare or hair care routine? Not really. I wash my face in the morning and in the night, like just casually. In terms of my hair, whenever I wake up in the morning, I guess I do kind of have a healthcare routine or hair care routine. I wet my hair in the morning because I shower at night, so in the morning my hair is like mad. So I wet my hair in the morning, I dry it with a towel, like a towel dry really quickly, and then I put in like either a curl cream or hair clay. So I put hair clay in my hair and I just kind of make it curly, just push it around a bit, push it back. And yeah, that's all I do for my hair. Next question, description about Bali/Indonesia. Bali, Indonesia is hands down one of the best locations I've ever been to in my life. It was beautiful. The scenes are just mad. The country is so beautiful. The food is really good. All the food is really healthy. Everyone there is very hippie and very health conscious, and yeah, everyone there is very nice and kind and caring. The locals are just amazing people, so kind, so caring. What else could I say about it? It's very safe. Yeah, actually, go and watch my Bali vlog. I made a full vlog on my trip to Bali last summer. Go check it out, but yeah, hands down one of the best places I've ever visited in my life. Next question is, do relationships change during medical school? For example, your friends and family. 100% yes. Definitely. I think the biggest effect that medical school has on you is the effect on your relationships. As I said, when I first started medical school, and even after that as well, I was in a long-term relationship, and I've been in relationships since then and kind of dated. But yeah, medicine generally does put a stress on your intimate relationships. The reason why is because you are busy, you're trained to be a doctor, and that is not something to be taken lightly. You will have to put in a lot of hours. You may have to move around a lot. So for example, in my 4th or 5th year, I'm not going to be in London anymore. I'm going to be off somewhere in the southeast of England on my placements. So that again puts stress on relationships. You do have 4 or 5 exam periods every single year. I have exams in October, January, sometimes March, and then May. So there are periods of time where I have to sit in the library and revise 10 hours a day, and that's the reality of med school, And some people can't necessarily understand that, or may find it hard to understand, which is fair enough. But yeah, also like in terms of your friends, again, you're really busy all the time. You have to make a lot of sacrifices, especially when you become a doctor, and especially when you're expected to work weekends. You know, you're expected to work Christmas Day, Boxing Day, New Year's Day, New Year's Eve. You know, when you say that I work from 9 to 5. Some jobs, when you say you're going to finish at 5, you definitely do finish at 5. In medicine, when you're a doctor, you can never guarantee anyone that you'll be there at 5 o'clock. You know, you may have a patient who collapses at 4:55, and you have to like be there until the end. You have to make sure that they're okay, which can take a lot of time, and that can definitely put stress in relationships. But obviously, if those relationships are really important and you're really close to these people, then hopefully there's nothing that can break that bond between you and them. But it definitely puts a stress in your relationships. Lastly, with your family, for sure. My mum lives in Kenya, my sister lives in Kenya, and last December I had a final exam in January, and because I had a big exam in January, I wasn't able to fly home and spend Christmas with my family, and that was obviously really tough for me, and it was obviously my choice. Like, I wanted to do really well in my exams, so I didn't go home, and that put pressure on me and my family, because I wanted to go home and see my family, but I couldn't. But that's kind of what you sign up for, so make sure before you go into medical school you actually think about this very carefully. Next question is, how old are you? I am 20 years old. Yeah, no, I'm joking, I wish. I just turned 24. My birthday was actually 2 weeks ago, so I just turned 24 years old, and I know I look like very young, but yeah, no, I'm joking, I'm 24. All right, next question. Next question is, what is the one country you haven't been to but always wanted to visit? Ooh, I'd say South America, because I've pretty much been to North America, I've been to Asia, Africa, Europe, obviously. So somewhere in South America, like Brazil or Argentina, that would be pretty dope. And this summer, I'm really going to try my best to hit those countries. Stay tuned for the vlog. The next question is, what is your opinion about making girlfriend in med school? Okay, I'm going to assume you mean getting a girlfriend in med school. Yeah, I think it is what it is. Obviously, you can't stop your life, and you can't stop everything else going on in your life just because of medical school. And by the time you graduate medical school, you'll be 23 years old, going into probably full-time work. So if you do manage to get a girlfriend, that's completely fine. The one thing I will say to be wary of is that girls and boys can get in the way of your education for sure. So if you do end up getting a relationship, be very mindful that your exams are really important, and if it ever does get in the way of your exams, get in the way of you working well, try to find some help for that, some pastoral help, or consider ending the relationship if you really have to. But yeah, I mean, I don't see a problem with that. Just make sure that you're on top of your work. Make sure you're still like investing in a relationship, but also investing in yourself as well, which is really key. Next question, what is your favorite food in the world? Hands down, like Japanese food. I'm not just being biased here. Like, I love sushi. I love like hot Japanese food as well, like katsu curry, all types of sushi. That's my favorite meal in the world. Favorite animal? Favorite animal, probably a wolf. I think wolves are just like badass, man. Like, they're their own category of like top like alpha animals. They're fast, they look sick. So yeah, I'm gonna go for a wolf. Next question is, how is student life as a postgrad? Yeah, student life as a postgrad isn't that different to like life as an undergrad. I'm a lot more mature. I know what I want and like what I enjoy. So yeah, life of a postgrad isn't like much different to life as an undergrad. You just like a bit older and know what you know a bit more about yourself and about what you want in life a bit more. But other than that, it's pretty much the same. Next question is, if you had the chance to change one thing in the world, what would it be in? Ooh, I'll be right back. It's quite a tough question. I think I'd say probably get rid of like our carbon emissions. Like, global warming is a thing. And that's one thing that's coming in the future, I think, that will really affect all of us. It will affect immigration, it will affect our health, our climate, it will affect finances. So I think global warming in the future is something that will definitely affect all of us. So yeah, cutting down our carbon emissions and being completely sustainable is something I'd change. Next question is, biggest regret of your life? Oof, you guys are getting deep. Like, oh man. Biggest regret of my life? Biggest regret of my life probably is like not starting this YouTube channel earlier, and just not learning to like not care about what other people think. I think as you're going through like university, like your first degree, you're 18, 19, 20, 21, you do care a lot about what other people think, and I think what I really learned like growing older is that you really stop to care about what other people think when you realize how like infrequently they do. Like people have their own problems to care about, people have their own lives to care about. So you start a YouTube channel or you doing something different from the crowd, even though people might like look down upon that or look at you for being really weird. That is something that, yeah, I just wish I did earlier. Like when I was like 22 is when I realized that I actually don't care about what other people think. And that's when life became a lot better, a lot more happier. So I would have liked to start my YouTube channel a lot earlier and, you know, have helped you guys a lot more and documented my life a lot more since then. That's one thing I probably regret, but I tend to like not have any regrets in my life. Like I think everything that you do in your life has happened for a reason. You know, I believe in like God's plan, and I believe in that, you know, the universe has a way of things working out. So I think that everything that has happened in my past has made me who I am and has taught me so much about myself and what I want in my future. So even though I've had like things that not like great happen in my life before, I wouldn't take back any of it because it made me who I am and I've grown from it. And that's the most important like point. All right, next thing is favorite film and favorite actor of all time. Oh, I have a few favorite films. First of all is I Am Legend with Will Smith. Hands down one of the best films ever, and I watch it all the time. Next one is like all the Harry Potters, starting from the Goblet of Fire onwards. Like I do like the earlier ones, but maybe it's because when I watched the later ones like Goblet of Fire and onwards, I was a bit older. So I don't know, like it hit differently. It just hit differently when I was older. So all the Harry Potters, Goblet of Fire onwards. My favorite one probably was I'd say Deathly Hallows Part 2. That just hit me deep, man. Like that film had me cry in the cinema on my own. Love that film. Also, I'd say Interstellar. Interstellar is one of my favorite films of all time as well. And yeah, those are my top 3 films. Favorite actor, I'd say either Matt Damon or Will Smith. Like whatever movie that Matt Damon or Will Smith is in, I will love it. Like even if it's like the shittest movie or the worst movie ever, I also love it. So those are my best films of all time. Lastly, what is your sexual orientation? Yeah, I'm attracted to females, and yeah, that is it. Okay, so the last category we're going to address is motivation. So I had like so many questions on motivation and how to stay motivated. I think this is actually like quite an important part to talk about. So yeah, the first question was, what was your motivation to work after your AS? My motivation to work after my AS was that I really had a passion to get into medical school. So when I didn't get into medical school the first time, when I got into biomedical science, I knew like in the back of my head, every single day, I would remind myself that the goal eventually is to get into medicine. So I'd spend like at least 5 minutes a day, like before going to sleep, before falling asleep, just like thinking about what it'll be like and what my life will be like when I finally do become a medical student, what my life will be like when I become a doctor. So having the thought at the back of my mind is what kept me going and is the reason why I work so hard in after my AS. Next is, how do you stay motivated and energetic to study for long hours? Really good question. I think the way I stay motivated is to remember the reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing. So in anything in life, whenever you need to get motivated and whenever you need to do something, it's really important to take some time to think about your purpose and think about what's your why? Like, why are you doing what you're doing? For me, a few things is, I want to be able to support my family. You know, I want to be able to have the money one day and the financial security to support my family. A lot of people have invested in me, my parents, my family, my friends. A lot of them have invested in me, and I want to give back to them and reach that stage of my career that I want to be in. Lastly, I want to be able to look after like my kids in the future and my wife when I eventually do like get married, stuff like that. I want to have financial security and I want to have a good job, and most importantly, I want to help people and I want to become a doctor who can save lives. So whenever I'm in the library and I'm bored and it's been like 8 hours in the library, I always go back to like, why am I doing this? And reminding myself that one day it will be the difference between like what I'm studying in the library right now. It might be cells, it might be organelles, it might seem really useless, but one day this will eventually lead me to the point where I want to be in my life, which is to save lives and to change the world. Yeah, so it's just a constant process of reminding myself as to why I'm doing what I'm doing. So make sure you ask yourself, like, why do you wake up every morning? What's your purpose in life? You may not think there is one, but every single person has a unique reason as to why they do what they do. So try to find out what that is and remind yourself of it every single day. Next is, what kept you motivated throughout your undergraduate degree to get into medicine? Again, same thing. I knew the end goal. to get where I wanted to be in life, I had to get into medicine. To get what I just described to you, the end goal was medicine. So for me, it was, again, just reminding myself of why I'm doing what I do, and, you know, repaying the people who invested in me. Like, you know, my mum invested a lot of money into me to pay for my my living, for my education when I was a kid. My dad also was paying for my living as well, and I wanted to make their investment worthwhile and to do all the things I told you about, which for me was the end goal of getting into medical school. Next question is, how do you remain focused when studying? Everything I just said applies to this question, and also just reminding myself that studying isn't fun. Like, at least for me, studying isn't fun. When I was last December, when I had my final exam coming up, all my friends had left and gone home for Christmas, and I was here in London on my own, preparing for my exam. What really helped me get through it was a realization that it was my choice. Like, being in medical school is my choice, and it's a life that I chose. You know, if I wanted to go into finance or art or whatever, I could have done that. You know, if I wanted to go home to Kenya and spend time with my family, I could have done that. If I wanted to spend time with my my friends over Christmas, I could have done that. But at the end of the day, it was my choice, and this is the life that I'm living through my choice. When you realize that it's your choice, and that if I wanted to, I could quit medical school tomorrow and do something completely different, you know, that's a choice I have, and that's a choice I can make. But when I realized that it was me who made those decisions, life became a lot easier. Also, what really helped me keep focused when studying is to have an end goal, like a little something to look forward to. So for me, I had a holiday booked after my final exam, so I knew that straight away after my final exam, I'll be flying to Marrakesh with my friends, and then flying to Kenya to see my family, and then another few like holidays planned throughout the year. So like having that end goal of a reward, like a bit of a reward, always helps me study. So before I start any exam, I always try and book like a small holiday away, or just like something small to do, whether it's in London or abroad. So having something to like motivate you, to keep you going, always helps me. Next question is, how do you balance your days in terms of your work, chill/gym? Again, it's just managing my time effectively. I don't think going to the gym for 1 hour a day is that much of a sacrifice. I think if you really want it, you will do it. I don't really believe in this thing where people say like, I don't have time for this thing. Like I don't have time to go gym or work out or spend time with friends. I think there's no such thing as I don't have time. There is a thing as it's not my priority. So I make sure that I know what my priorities are. So for me, that's like my career, my relationships and friends, and the gym, for example. And I know what my priorities are, and YouTube as well. You know, those are my top priorities, and you'll always make time for the things that you prioritize well. So if something means more to you, and maybe let's say you really want to go to the gym and you don't have time for that, make it a priority in your life. Make sure that you say to yourself that this will be something that I will definitely do. And once you make it a priority in your life, you will find time for it eventually. So yeah, that's what I'd recommend. So those are all the questions that you guys sent in. I'm so sorry this video is really long, but I wanted to make sure that I actually take the time to answer all of your questions. I appreciate all of you guys like sending in these questions and wanting to find out more about me. That's amazing, and it's so nice of you guys. Again, I want to thank all of you so much from the bottom of my heart for subscribing to my channel and watching my videos every single day. I love you guys, and I appreciate you so much. If there's anything that I can do for you guys, if you have any more questions you want to have answered, or any videos you want to suggest for the future, make sure you leave a comment down below. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and the rest of my social media. Give the video a like if you have enjoyed the video, and make sure you subscribe as well. And I'll see you guys on the next one. So take care, and yeah, see you in the next one.